Então, hoje é dia de regressarmos para todos os efeitos à velocidade, podemos dizer assim, mas também às boas entrevistas em inglês, fica esta chamada de atenção, vai ser mais uma entrevista em inglês, isto porque vamos falar daquela que é das principais notícias mais recentes a nível de circuitos em Portugal. Vêm aí muitas novidades, porque vamos falar do Circuito do Sol, fixem este nome, em pleno Alentejo, em plena Serpa. Vamos falar um bocadinho com Lars Lindberg, que está aqui comigo. Ele aceitou, neste caso, o meu convite. Vai ser uma entrevista em inglês em que vamos fazer aqui um enquadramento. O próprio Lars tem aqui alguma carreira feita também na velocidade, a LMS e tudo mais, como ele vai explicar. E por isso vamos começar para já por falar um bocadinho do Lars e depois sobre o Circuito do Sol. E esta entrevista vai ser em inglês. So, Mr. Lars, first of all, be welcome here for Portugal, 16 válvulas. It's a great pleasure for us to receive you. And before talking about the Circuito do Sol, it's the main theme for us to talk. I would like to talk a little bit, if you allow me, about yourself, because you have some connection with motorsport, with your team and all the things, but you have started by being a driver, but at planes. Can we start knowing a little bit about yourself, Mr. Lars Lindberg?
Thank you so much for inviting me. Yeah, I'm Swedish. I have done motorsport my entire life since I was very young. Motorcycles, cars, and so on. And then I started to fly airplanes. So I spent my whole life in...
Not bikes. Bikes, no. We are free from bikes.
No, I ran bikes also. I have some gold teeth and I have some broken bones and so on. I still have a number of bikes at Circuito do Sol, including a pro super bike.
Oh.
So I enjoy bikes very much. It's like airplanes, you know, that you have the forces with you. Cars, you're battling the forces. Bikes and flying, you have the forces with you.
Yes.
So I spent my career in aviation. I was a captain for one of the airlines. I was a test pilot, and I also developed an engineering company. I'm a jet engine engineer from beginning, but I worked very much in system design and so on. And this company we took to NASDAQ in Sweden, 2012. And some of that money we invested now in Serpa and Circuito do Sol and so on. So I stopped flying about 10 years ago, and then I went back to more or less do motorsport full time, running a team out of Malaga, together with my business partner, Raul Garcia, who is the CEO of Circuito do Sol, and we are the two founders of Circuito do Sol. So now I spend most of my time in Portugal, and enjoying it very much, and working with the circuit since 7 years to make the project.
But also some careers in ELMS.
The team was in ELMS.
Yes,
I was not driving there. I drove GT cars when I was younger.
Okay.
And I raced up in Sweden, but also down in Holland and so on. So I had the pleasure of driving Porsche, Ferrari, Venturi was really fun car to drive, and did that. So in my whole career, I've been motorcycles or car racing and so on.
Enjoying speed, a lot of speed. It is the main character, as to say, is speed, because bikes and cars, you always enjoyed speed, right?
I enjoy speed, but it's also the balance, and this comes back into how we design Circuito do Sol. It's a track where it's very flowing, and you'll see it's a lot of banked corners, and it's very rhythmic. We had one corner actually that we dug up 4 times because we were not happy. So we compacted, made everything ready, and we were driving with our Cayenne off-road race car and said, this is not good. So simulations, everything looked good, but the rail wasn't good. So the 4th time, it's perfect. Okay. So we worked very hard to get a circuit where you have the right feeling and not, battling the car or the bike, but you have that. And this is the thing with flying and racing and so on. It's a lot of data. It's the man over the machine and being able to analyze and work that. So that's the connection.
Okay, perfect. So this is the right time to talk about Circuito do Sol. I would like, first of all, to know and to understand why and how did it all started. In the next minutes, I want to know everything about the Circuito do Sol. It's a project that I'm enthusiastic from that. I would like to see racing there, but you can explain me from the point zero, how did it all started and why have you chosen Serpa? It's the middle of nowhere, but it's a beautiful place. Explain us all that you can explain.
Well, I think it was the track that chose us, and not the opposite. The track was there, and we found it through a photographer that was working with us when we did the ELMS and Le Mans series. His name is Stefan Labrantes. He's a very good motorsport photographer. He came from Serpa. At that point, we were part of a project for a new track in Spain, and we were working with that. Unfortunately, or fortunately, there was some delays. And Stefan said over Christmas, how about this track? And sent us pictures from a very abandoned racetrack in Serpa, karting track. It was a supercar track. And my business partner, Raul Garcia, went first, and then I came. And I'm happy to say that any person that we brought in, which is quite a few, when you see it and you see the nature with the mountains around and everything, it's a fantastic place. So we saw the opportunity to do something, but the track was very run down. It was bankrupt, and it was in the courts in Lisbon. And we said we have to be able to achieve four things. First of all, buy it for a sum of money that was acceptable. Then be able to get some more land because it was not enough. And right now we have 64 hectares of land. So we also have land for expansions going forward. And then we had to get the political backing from the local and the regional, and we had to get environmental approval, of course. And I'm happy to say we achieved all of these, but it took years. So this is year 7.
We're talking about, yes, now we're talking about 7 years. It was first day 1 or day 0, 7 years now on.
Yes. So we are on year 7. So we started with the process in Lisbon to buy the land in January 7 years ago. And then it's the whole environmental process, which is quite rigid, but very good. It's very straightforward. We did a lot of documents, a lot of analysis. The first study, that was the application, was 687 pages. And the cost of doing all this work is in the hundreds of thousands.
But allow me just to make one small question, because I don't want you to lose your mind, but I would like to know is, when you see that the circuit is, no, as I told you before, in the middle of nowhere, there are no special roads, as to say, when you saw it, you have an idea for improving it also with connections with the roads and all the things to make it available, for example, for Spain and for Portugal. We are close for the airport in Beja, for example.
Yes, so we had the dialogues on the political side, and we had very good support from Serpa the whole time, the previous mayor and the current mayor. We worked with the CCDR, and we showed what we would like to do. And actually on Monday, we are starting to improve the access road into the track. Okay. So we are putting asphalt down and repairing some of the damages we done with all the trucks going to the track. First, the compaction gravel was 600 trucks that delivered that. And then we did the first layer of asphalt, and I think it was about 250 truckloads. And next week, we are putting the top layer of asphalt down. It's a little bit less trucks, but it's the same price. The top layer is very important and very expensive. So we are improving the roads there. We're also improving the roads in. We have a continuous dialogue with the politicians and so on. But of course, they wanted to see that we delivered. Because
yes, that's it.
talking is easy, doing is harder, and we haven't been communicating that much. We haven't published big plans and things. We have communicated when we had achieved something.
Yes, and the design for the circuit, you have an example, for example, you have chosen for your experience, or you have seen one circuit and you want to put this corner. I will recall it from Monaco, this one from Singapore, I don't know. I'm wondering, for the design from the circuit, it was also one of your, as to say, works, Mr. Lars?
The main designer is the nature.
Okay.
So the nature is very undulated. We actually had to fill out quite a bit because it's one lap, which is 3.4 kilometers. You have 89 meters of elevation change. It's not as much as Portimao or Spa, but we're not far away. So we used the terrain very much, but then we helped the terrain and designed corners. And then, of course, our main customers are the club members and testing and so on. So what we designed was some very specific corners. We have the corkscrew.
Okay,
and
I like it.
Just like Laguna Seca, where they had caterpillars and so on, we moved enormous amount of rocks and ground and so on to build the corkscrew. And the turn-in is exactly like Laguna Seca, and then you dive down. But in Laguna Seca, you continue diving in the right-hander. At Circuito del Sol, you go up again, and then you go right. But it's a fantastic flow. We have very good inspiration from Le Mans with the Porsche S's. We have a section that you can say comes from Nürburgring, the Nordschleife, with the carousel, where we have maximum allowed banking by FIA. So the track is designed by the rule books provided by FIA and FIM. We worked a lot more with FIM or the FMP, the Portuguese Federation, because it's much more difficult with motorcycles with safety than cars. Cars, we have tools, so we simulate, we run everything. We know the runoff areas and so on. Bikes is much more experience. So I think we had 5 inspections, 4 with FMP and 1 with FMP and FIA. And we had agreed on 3, one place with more asphalt and then 2 runoff areas that we were changing. And then,
Okay, I would like also to know if in money matters, as to say, in the money talking, if it is below your estimation, as to say, or under the estimation. You have been in your plan perfectly, or are you sliding as one circuit to be sliding with the cars, but in this case, sliding with money?
Well, we've been sliding with money. I mean, John Lennon said, life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans. Of course, you make plans and so on, but then you start digging, and then you discover that under the old track that we are, everything is new asphalt and so on. But when we removed the asphalt, we discovered that underneath there was clay, and you cannot have clay. So we had to change quite a bit and dig out and so on. So we did much more than we expected. The total project cost on what is defined now will end up around 16 million euros. We haven't spent all of that yet, but all of the project is financed by the 4 investors. We have no government money. We have no bank loans. It's the shareholders' money that has financed the whole part. And that's good and that's bad. Of course, we're using a lot of our money, but it's been very good. And we are using, basically everything is local companies and local employees. I think we have 22 employees now, and we'll go up to 40 when we're full operation mid next year or something like that, we end up with 40. Right now we're 22. The only company that we have from the outside that is doing a lot of work is Alba, and they come from Jerez, and they've done all the work underneath the track and the asphalt. So all the asphalt comes from Huelva, and it's special mix to make it really good. Right next week, we are putting the top layer, which is 3 centimeters, and it's very good mixture and everything like that. But otherwise, all the work has been done with local companies, a lot of it by our own employees. So we have a lot of machinery and so on to be
it's
able
cheaper
to do.
by that way. And plans for competition. What do you want to make competition there? Motos, as I've seen before, as you have told us before, but also formulas or testing, or what are the aims for using this circuit?
Yeah, so we in our business case, we have 4 customer segments, and it comes from the experience of what we have done before. Raul Garcia, the CEO, worked a lot with Ascari. I was also involved in Ascari, and a big part of it is the membership, and they will have 50 days per year, membership days. You can store your car there, you can have these events and so on. We will also be running a race team out of Circuito del Sol, and we will actually announce
facilities.
it. Yeah, so we will go to other tracks also and participate in other racing series and so on. And that is something for the members to be able to do. But the club is an important part. The next one is race teams from Scandinavia, England, UK, and so on. Next weekend is the last weekend of racing in Sweden. Then the season is over. So what do? You have made this huge investment, and now you cannot use anything during the winter. So it's very hard to run a business as a race team, and we give the opportunity to bring the equipment and so on down to Portugal. We also work with Marcus Gedlich and the Gedlich series that we worked with at Ascari and so on. And Gedlich will come, Marcus, and his endless summer series will come to Circuito del Sol December 8th, 9th. And that is the second event in Iberia. The first one is in Barcelona. The second one they do at Circuito del Sol. So race teams, event organizers, memberships, but then it's also manufacturers. We have a lot of interest to be able to do in one of the focus areas, which is electrification and using electrical. I mean, it's a matter of fact. We will all be transitioning over to electrical cars. In some areas it goes faster, some areas it goes slower. Racing is racing, but sustainability aspect, and especially something which is very good in Alentejo, where you have so much wind and solar power and all of that. So we want to create a hub where manufacturers are able to use it for testing, validation, and so on. And there's other aspects, which is self-driving, which is another side where there has to be a lot of testing, a lot of gathering data to make sure that it's working. And there we are working with installations at Circuito del Sol with fiber and different communication links to offer that to manufacturers. But we designed the track to be compliant with FIM and FIA rules. And like I said, the FIA is easier because we have very good simulation tools. So we know what the lap time will be of a GT car and so on. And they have published also the algorithms for retardation and so on. So there we can simulate. The motorcycles are more difficult. There you need the good experienced people from FMP and from FIM.
FIM, okay. Mr. Lars.
Yep.
Yes, I would like also to ask you, we are finishing this interview, but I would like to ask you two more questions. One of them is the timeline. We are now in September 2024, which is the next timeline that you are planning?
So we had our first events at the track. We had 4 club days events, and we had Motor Sponsor as the first event where we tested out the layout and so on. Next week we're finalizing the asphalt, and directly after that we have the next club event. And then it's accelerating up with different customers that comes from inside Portugal, but from the outside. And then the motorcycles track days start to arrive. And in the winter, starting November, we have combined with teams and club days. And then there's an opportunity for the race teams from Nordic countries and Germany and so on. And we have different tracks we have collaborations with. So you can bring the trailer down, you can have the drivers coming in, hotels are cheap, flights are cheap. We have good collaborations with the hotels in the region and so on. So we will bring people in. And then of course you have the winter series, which is in the Estoril and Portimao. And I think in total with the testing and the racing there is about 30 days there. And we will participate with teams and cars. We will have LMP3 cars participating in that and so on. So this is the timeline. And then when we are ready with the homologation, it's a process. We have moved fastest with FMP because it's been most difficult, like I explained, and they have been with us 5 times. And I think we have 1 or 2 times before we get the documents signed. And then the next is FPAC, and we hope to process with that as fast as possible. But racing is deep in our hearts, but it's not the business. Yes. It's not what we are not Estoril, we are not Portimao. We are something different, and what we are is something that you find more in the US, like Spring Mountain or Thermal, Apex, or up in New York and so on. We have members that come from the US. One of the investors is Canadian, and we have Canadian race cars at the track now in our garages there. So it's the club and it's that part that makes this business viable.
And for the official inauguration, when it will be?
We don't have an official inauguration.
I was expecting from the president, the Republic president.
No, we
PM, no, nothing like that.
No, it's for us and for the members and everything, and we do it gradually and move forward. We have people, Dani Matos, that was 16 years with Portimao, and he was part of the big, and of course we were very saddened by the loss of Paulo and all the. Mm-hmm. So and we spent a lot of time down in Portimao, and a lot of inspiration comes from that. But now I lost the thread.
No, I was wondering if for public to go there to see the races.
Yeah, so the first race in Portimao was the World Superbike.
Yes.
And I mean, it's fantastic to do something like that, but we don't have the need to do it. We don't have the need to have a lot of people coming in the beginning. So we can take it slower and build up. And there will be, my prediction, next year we will have the chance to have some people from the outside coming and visiting us. But again, we are not building big grandstands. We're building areas. We're building a new clubhouse with a restaurant and big swimming pool and so on for the club members. But we're not building any big grandstands because this is more, it's a different experience. It's motorsport resort. And we also have rally stages, and we have a motocross track and so on.
Mr. Lars, my last question, very fast, is to know about the future. Which are your plans? Do you want to have this track, especially for these means that you want, and build other things alongside with, for example, as to say, a different kind of track for major competitions like Formula 1, Formula 2 and others, or MotoGP? This is the beginning of something big, or which is the future that you have already chosen, Mr. Lars? And this is my last question.
Yes, so I try to be fast. We have different projects, different things, and I think the Portimao project and everything is fantastic. It's a fantastic track and so on. But we are a bit like a spaceship, like landing in Serpa there. And we are working together, and we are bringing more and more people into the hotels and so on. So we're a different type of animal than Portimao and Estoril was and is. So we will fill another part of that. I am sure we will have historic Formula 1 cars. I am sure that someone will bring an old MotoGP bike. I have a Honda Pro Superbike that I will take out in the track and scare myself with. But we are not intending to be a big spectator area. We are in a different niche than that. But we will give an opportunity for competitor to test and work on the track, and the track is relevant for everything. And we had people saying like World Superbike testing could be done there. And it's interesting because it's counterclockwise. So you have Valencia, Phillip Island, and a couple of tracks that Laguna Seca, of course, that are counterclockwise. So you wear a different side of the tires on the motorcycles, and you wear the right front quite a bit when you're leaning on it in the corners. So we are not trying to compete with Portimao or Estoril. We are a complement to that.
I'm completely glad and enthusiastic for receiving that circuit. For me, it was such a pleasure to know all the things. I'm always open to know the news that you can bring us. And it was a great pleasure to have you here, Mr. Lars Lindberg. And I hope to someday we will meet there at the Circuito do Sol. We have the chance only to see it exactly at the place. Here it is fantastic, but at the place I'm sure it will be fantasticer, as to say, if there's that word.
It's a great experience, and that's what we wanted. We wanted a track that is technical and difficult, and if you have a club, you have to make sure that people want to come back. If you learn it in the first hour, it's not that interesting. But here is a track that you will enjoy for many years and do different things.
So, Mr. Lars, as Portuguese, thank you for choosing Portugal. Portugal has already chosen you and your team, but it was something new, and it was a pleasure to have you here. All the best of luck for you and your team, and thank you for the opportunity to know all about it. Have a nice day. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much.
Obrigado.